I've got beef with clothes in 2022. You heard me right. The entire globe is connected and we have access to all the designs in human history. So I'd expect to be walking around like Star Wars. Every city and country dressing with wild variety like, ah yes, I'm definitely in Louisiana. Check out the smocks these guys got on. And yet, everyone dresses the same. Sure, there are an endless variety of dresses, suits, and t-shirts available. People try to distinguish themselves with different brands, but basic structure and style is the same worldwide. Yet there are many, many other ways of dressing that are suited to local climate and reflect local cultures. And I believe that we should celebrate and search out more diversity in our clothing. Hopefully by the end of this video, you'll feel the same way. And if you like digging deeper into ways to enrich our lives on this earth, go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. Now sit back, relax, and welcome to Weirder Futures. So I live on the Gulf Coast of Texas. Believe the rumors, it's hot. It's sticky with humidity for a good portion of the year, and if you're lucky, you might be in a shorts and a t-shirt on Christmas Day. But despite this, the standard formal wear expected at job interviews, legal proceedings, and pretty much all special occasions requires wearing a suit. For me, that's too many layers, often of hot material, all developed for people living in Northern Europe. What about clothes designed for the swamp? What about clothes made from fibers found here in this humid bog? In most cities across the planet, people are wearing the same styles of clothes, whether that's for formal occasions, semi-formal, or casual. We can call them Western style clothes, not Western wear for us Americans. But even though these things originated in the global West, they're now standard wear everywhere. Wait, let me say that again. Everywhere. And then there are the circumstances when Western style clothing is legally mandated. Most schools have dress codes. Courts, legislatures, and businesses also all maintain dress codes that make wearing the same style of clothing required. This wouldn't be a major concern if it were just applied to England or the Netherlands where these clothes were developed. But these codes and practices affect most of the globe now. And when many businesses are making a point to make their workforces more diverse, there's generally no consideration for a diversity of dress. Suits, t-shirts, shorts, jeans, polo shirts, skirts. Why are people in Texas, Canada, Indonesia, and Nigeria all wearing the same thing? With the spread of European colonialism and global capitalism, Western business dress became the default uniform in all business and education contexts globally. The explosion of cheap clothing being produced industrially in Asia led to local clothing industries and craftsmanship withering away, leaving most of our variety left in the form of brands or materials. You can choose which brand of shirt you want to wear, or you can choose between synthetic or natural materials, but if you want to wear a jerkin, your only real option is to work at the Renaissance Festival. Globally, traditional dress is often acceptable for ceremonial purposes like religious ceremonies or weddings, but not for office work or day-to-day life. There are notable holdouts in the Arabian Peninsula and South Asia. I know you guys were watching the World Cup. Good on you, Qatar. I guess you did one thing right. But in many places, traditional dress or hairstyles are still prohibited in formal and legal situations. So what about the demise of regional and hyperlocal clothing types? Is this something worth mourning? Clothing can be as intrinsically linked to our culture as our languages, names, and foods. We see this with religions that use clothing as a way to distinguish themselves from others. It's an important part of defining who we are to the world. And we here at Weirder Futures argue for it because we've gotten to a point where most of us can't even consider an alternative. We can imagine countless different styles of t-shirts or jackets, but it's impossible for many of us to imagine a world where someone might seriously wear a caftan, a toga, or, God forbid, a loincloth in public. Even though this trend of homogenization originated in Europe, as recently as 1930, we would have still seen regional variation in dress amongst Europeans as well. There was a time when you could identify what town or village someone came from according to their clothing. But after World War II, traditional dress has becoming rarer and rarer across the globe. So how can we bring more diversity to our clothes? To start, you can buy handmade versions of traditional clothing and support small artisans. Etsy is a good place to start, but you might be able to find people making stuff even closer to your home. You can also try your hand at making your own clothes at home. I have absolutely none of these skills, but we have access to the world's combined knowledge here on YouTube. So good luck. It might take some courage, but you can rock heritage clothing in public and maybe even try your luck wearing it to work. There are currently movements in Japan, China, and even Austria to promote wearing traditional clothing in public. The Austrian Lederhosen Thursday movement promotes Austrians wearing traditional dress in public, wherever you are, especially in foreign countries. Check out these guys. Look at them, wearing lederhosen. What does this mean for people who live in colonial countries like the United States? Let's say you have an Italian last name. Are you supposed to dress like an Italian peasant from the 1800s? Or do you prefer styles from the 1700s? What if you have ancestry from many different cultures? Or should everyone in Texas always wear boots and cowboy hats? Honestly, I'm not sure the answer to this one, but I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section. Maybe there are new styles yet to be born. What would a local clothing industry look like using natural materials and regionally generated designs? Maybe you've been cooking something up yourself. My personal favorite suggestion, like these Japanese men promoting their traditional garment, I'm partial to a loincloth revival. You heard it here first, loincloth revival. A simple, universal piece of human clothing that's becoming exceedingly rare in the world. Maybe not for everyday use, but definitely worth a comeback in some context. Everyone's ancestors at some point wore them, but if you need proof that Europeans wore them, we can look at Ötzi, the Iceman's leather loincloth, for inspiration. In Lafayette, Louisiana, I actually found a guy at a music festival sporting one. Turns out he makes them himself. You can find a link to his Instagram in the bio. Support this dude, he's awesome. In the past, people wouldn't have had a choice. The local traditional clothing was the only option. But we live in a time of abundance, and yet we seem to have created a new way to limit our options. I'd like to see the happy medium, with a trend towards more diversity and regional variation in clothing. If you've been inspired to think a little deeper about clothing and culture today, please like and subscribe to support our channel as we pursue ways to make our world weirder. The richness in humanity is our diversity, our different ways of speaking, worshiping, eating, and how we dress. Maybe it's time we thought more critically not just about the materials we wear, but the diversity of design as well. Mix it up out there, y'all.